One day I noticed someone spitting, and I really tried hard not to say, "Oh, I can't stand that," because I don't want it to keep happening. Well, anyway, I swear to you, almost every day of my life, I will just sort of like, "Ah," I'll look over right at the right time, and someone has spit. Why didn't I look 2 seconds before? Why didn't I look 2 seconds after? What in the heck? Why do I keep seeing that? I can't believe it.
Because it's active in your vibration.
But I try really hard not to let it.
But you see, when you try hard not to think about spitting, you're thinking about spitting. So you might want to choose something else that might get your attention.
Okay, well, that leads me to my next question.
So choose something less disgusting and work yourself up to rainbows.
Well, I've thought that. I'm like, why can't I see somebody drop a quarter every time I look over or something like that? But it doesn't work.
You could, but there's more. You see, you're making such a good point here because what you're helping us to explain is that sometimes, in fact, it's pretty often, people have something different than they want most active in their vibration. Because every subject is really two subjects. It's like a long stick with wanted on one end and the absence of what is wanted on the other. So without even realizing it, sometimes when you activate a subject that you're trying really hard to be positive about, you're just activating it where you last left it.
Okay.
So on something like that, you could just ignore it and focus on other things instead. But you see, whenever something is showing up as a manifestation, that means that there's quite a bit of vibrational history going on. In other words, you've been practicing the vibration for a while. So what is it about that you don't like?
It's gross.
Yes?
I don't like seeing that. Why do people have to spit?
Well, because they don't like it in their mouth. You think it was gross on the sidewalk, you should have felt it when it was in their mouth.
Okay, but why do I just have to look right at the right moment? That's what makes me irritated.
That's what we're wanting to help you get at. So it's gross, but we don't think that that is necessarily what is triggering that within you. What does someone spitting on the sidewalk where you might see it, what does that represent to you?
Is disrespectful.
Disrespectful of?
Someone might step in it.
Disrespectful of others.
Yeah.
Disrespectful of you, but disrespectful of others. So do you find yourself on other subjects feeling concern about disrespect? Did you have disrespect? Do you have disrespect? Is there someone disrespecting you? Why is that active in your vibration? And it doesn't even have to be something that's happening in a strong way now. It could just be happening now in those sort of trickling manifestations. In other words, that's not a very big deal. They're not throwing... We won't exaggerate it into worse things, but there's something going on vibrationally. What do you think that it is?
Why do you had to be not about the spitting and because that's just...
It's not about the spitting, but the spitting represents what it's about. Let's go a little deeper. It's about disrespect for the world at large. So what kinds of other thoughts are you thinking about? Are you talking about other things that are disrespectful to the planet or to people or to women? What else is bothering you? Is that the only thing that's bothering you?
Oh, no.
Well, are there other things bothering you that are about the same vibrational disrespect?
I feel like the universe is disrespecting me.
Because it's not giving you what you want.
There's two things that are really important to me. Everything else I listen to all the time, and so I always let a trick sing
Working out for you.
Except
I want to say that's not true in my case, and here's evidence someone nearly spit on my foot.
Well, I have a little more evidence than that, but yeah. And I just feel like...
Do you understand why we ask for the thing that you said was silly first?
Yeah.
Because always you sit here as a point of attraction, and everything that you're going to want to talk to us about is about something that's coming to you in response to the vibrational offering. And can you feel how when we began here today, the very first thing that we were saying in the very first segment is about how we want you to find a way to find self-appreciation. Because the universe adores you, but cannot yield to you differently than you're feeling about yourself. And you got people spitting on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
which is a sort of indication of how you're feeling about yourself.
And that's my question is if I'm doing the best I can, because I don't think I can do this really.
Well, that's the most significant and wonderful thing that you're saying. When you're saying, I'm doing the best I can, that's a really good statement because that means I care about me and I am making an effort to do it. But let's soften that statement because what you're really saying is, you're saying, if I'm doing the best I can, but what you're actually saying vibrationally is, I'm thinking I'm doing the best I can, but I must not be doing the best I can.
No, I mean,
It's not.
I can't. Can't the universe meet me halfway? Can't it say, well, I mean, how many days in a row do you have to do the things that you talk about in order for something to happen? Because I just can't keep it up.
Not any days in a row and not any hours in a row. You just have to get there and then everything falls into place. So there. You see,
Programmed that way.
you're right. Because you've been programmed by an environment that has been indicating things differently than the way the laws of the universe are working. But the wonderful thing about coming into conscious awareness of how it all works is that the universe won't meet you halfway like your mother might. In other words, you might throw a fit as a child and your mother might try to soothe it through some sort of distorted response. But the universe will not respond to your tantrums. The universe insists that you find the vibration. The universe insists.
Doomed?
Yes, in this way. You're doomed to more contrast. And you're doomed to launching more rockets. And you're doomed to more manifestations that indicate what you've been feeling vibrationally. In other words, there's so much about what you're living that is going well, and some of what you're living that is not the way you want it. A few weeks ago, Esther woke up in a hotel room. It was the week before Long Beach, and she was in extraordinary discomfort. She did not know what was wrong, but she couldn't stand up. It was the worst physical discomfort she'd ever felt. So she went to the emergency room because she could not imagine. She could barely get there, and she had a kidney stone. Not fun. But it was not out of alignment with some things that she had been thinking and feeling. So did she say, Abraham, am I doomed? The universe didn't just spit on the sidewalk in front of me. The universe yielded to me the single most unpleasant 12 hours of my physical experience. Am I doomed? Or is it a temporary manifestation that reflects some vibrational turmoil that gives me insight? In other words, it was not a difficult thing for Esther to do some matching up. And it's not a difficult thing for you to do some matching up. But you're starting with a flawed premise. You're starting with the flawed premise that says the universe isn't on my side when the universe is on your side. You're the only one who can ever not be on your side. And you only do it a thought at a time, a thought at a time, a thought at a time, you see? So next time you see someone spit on the sidewalk, stop and laugh and say, thank you for that. It's just evidence that I'm still not being as good to myself as I could be. You see?
Okay.
I'm just not being as good to myself as I could be. But I'm not doing the best that I can do. I'm doing the best that I'm doing, but I can do better. I can feel better about me, you see? I can feel better. I can look for more reasons to feel good. That's all that it is. You're going to hear a whole lot more as we're moving forward. We would like to leave you with this sort of stream of thought. I'm doing all right, but I want to do better. And there are a lot of things I don't like, but there are a lot of things I do like. And I'm really happy to at least be beginning to grasp the understanding that I do have some measure of control over my own life. And I'm happy. These are our words, not yours, but these are the words that we want to become yours. I'm happy that the universe never distorts my vibrational offering, that it always gives back to me how I'm feeling about me. Because how am I going to know how to adjust my thought and my vibration if I'm not getting consistent response from the universe? So I like the response I'm getting. When something happens that thrills Esther, she stops every time. Sometimes she makes a memo note of it in her iPhone. Sometimes she calls someone and tells them, but she stops nearly every time when something wonderful happens and acknowledges my point of attraction equals that. And I like both, you see. When something that she doesn't want happens, she does the same thing. She stops and acknowledges my point of attraction equals that. My point of attraction. My point of attraction over which I have complete control. My point of attraction. I have the ability to change that thought one thought at a time. One thought at a time. You're surrounded by a world of thinkers, and the variance of opinions in the world that surrounds you is astonishing. And yet, you're running around, most of you, trying to get other people to agree with you. That's not why you came. You didn't come for agreement from the peanut gallery. They're not ever going to agree. You only need to find agreement with the source within you, who is there, loving you, adoring you, proud of you, happy about where you are and where you're going, ready to reveal to you in every moment exactly how you're doing, and never one time ever criticizing you for where you stand, and that's why you feel negative emotion. You wouldn't be able to feel negative emotion if you weren't finding a variance from how Source feels about you. Your negative emotion means I'm thinking something Source isn't thinking.
So do you think that when I see someone spit, that's the universe saying you're not in alignment?
Yeah, when you see someone spit, it's the universe saying, this is how you're feeling right now. But the way you feel about it is different from the way Source feels about it. Source is reveling in the announcement of your vibration. As Esther was driving, she drove her car from San Diego over to San Antonio last week. So fun. And at some point, out in the middle of the desert, she looked at the gas gauge and it was on empty. It was 109 degrees in the desert. Her sister is traveling with her. And she thought, should I tell her or not? Or should we just put a happy face sticker over the empty gas gauge? So then Esther looked at the route, and she knew that when they crossed from Interstate 8 onto Interstate 10, she knows that there are some gas stations there. And she knew that that was 44 miles away. And she looked at how far her car is telling her it will go. And it will go 52 miles. I think I'll slow down a little bit. Maybe use a little less fuel for this 44 miles. So Esther's indication showed her that she wasn't really watching what she was doing. But it wasn't out of being negative. It was out of just not paying attention. In other words, don't you think it's possible that you could just be bipping along and not be paying attention to everything all at the same time? When something gets a little off, does your automatic assumption have to be, I'm a bad person? Can't you just sometimes forget your microphone? Can't you just sometimes not be paying attention? Isn't it all right? Don't things really always work out for you? Esther's happy. She now knows exactly how much fuel her car will hold. To the ounce, nearly. You say, you need to lighten up on yourself. Be easier. Look for more reasons to be proud of yourself. We're proud of you. Good time for a segment of Fresh.